Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Esoteric Atlanta and back to our weekly coffee chat with my friend Catherine Edwards. How are you today, Catherine? How is it over in the UK right
Do you
now?
know, I know you're having bad weather, but our weather is amazing. It's really hot. It's really sunny. We've got some fluffy clouds in the sky, along with some dodgy ones. So it's all really good at the moment, actually. And Keir Starmer is over at the G7 meeting in Canada, I think it is, with Trump and everyone else. So we don't want him to come back. Stay there. Okay, don't feel need to rush back at all. You're quite happy to stay there as long as you like.
It's so funny. I was telling you, I feel so pale because it has been raining. It's so weird. It's just been like thunderstorming every single day this whole month. And it's gross because it's still really hot. And when it rains, it's
Yeah,
really hot. It just steams. And I feel really pale because, and the funny thing is, everyone's going off, oh, and down here, this must be there. They're all coming up with conspiracies. This actually happened. I remember this happened once before when I was 14 years old. And I remember the weather because it was after my eighth grade year, and my friend, one of my good friends, and I were in. She has her family's from Jacksonville, Florida, and St. Augustine, that area. And I remember being with her after school let out, so summer, and being in like jackets on the beach, and us being like, "This is so weird. Like it's normally so hot right now." So I have that memory. I actually have a picture somewhere of us sitting on. So this has happened before. I mean, I'm 42
yeah.
now, so it's been like 38 years. But this does happen, I feel like, sometimes in nature where you just get weird weather and it like resets itself or something. But bless Robbie's heart. I was telling you, Catherine, he hates the rain anyway. Anytime it rains, he
Yeah.
takes it as a personal offense, like we've done it. So we don't go on long WALKs, but then he gets so hyper that he just starts throwing his toys around and so
I
so
know that feeling. I know that feeling. So we put on our lovely little rescue dogs, we put coats on in the rain because they don't like the rain either. So we put their lovely coats on and off we trundle. Yeah.
oh, they get so offended, like you did it. Like, how dare
Yeah.
you allow this to happen? So, you guys, before we get into the conversation today, I just want to give a PSA as well. Catherine and I were talking about this offline. This is a problem that has just, well, I think for us, it's been a problem for a while because people do rip off our videos. They do download our videos and repost them to other channels. We've been dealing with that for years, haven't we, Catherine? Like fake
We
accounts.
sure have. Yeah. And I didn't know about them until someone kept sending them to me. And I was like, oh, okay.
There's nothing we can do about it either. We can
No.
try to copyright strike it, but there's just really not a whole lot. It's out of our hands. Well, it has come to pass. I feel like a prophecy say it's come to pass. That basically what's happening, you guys, is AI is pretty much taking over the YouTube. And what they're doing is they are shadow banning people like Catherine and me or other researchers, not just us. They're people who are not even in the conspiratorial world who are having this happen to them, who do research into stories. And they're taking the backlog of all these people's videos and they're shadow banning the person and then creating AI people, AI videos, regurgitating that person's research and not shadow banning those videos so that YouTube is collecting then all the money from the AdSense.
Mhm.
And there's not a whole lot. I mean, this is really like it put, I think, a lot of us, a lot of YouTubers in a very hard, not just even for us in our little world of disclosure, but I just think across the board, it's put a lot of YouTubers in a very bad. I listened to another person that I like to listen to who does long form true crime documentaries, and he went off on it because it's happened to him.
Mm.
So we do all this work. We create all these videos. We put so much time and effort into the research, the editing, only to have it pirated from us and not get anything in return. And YouTube takes all the money through these AI accounts. So I just want to give you guys, if you're following a channel that's putting up long form format every single day with proper editing, that's probably AI.
Mhm.
Because for me to do a huge deep dive, it takes days of research. Then I have to storyboard it, so figure out how I'm going to tell the story. Then I have to edit it, and 10 minutes of footage takes an hour to edit. So if you have an hour-long deep dive, it's about a 6-hour editing process. And then it takes time to upload it. So if you're watching a channel that's dropping down deep dives every day consistently, yes, it could be that someone prepped the material before they opened their channel and dropped it, but that's typically does slow down because of time. just be careful that you're not supporting AI. Make sure that you're aware of this, because there's somebody out there who's done the research that the computer has collected and created, and they're not getting the pay for that. They're getting their stuff pirated. On top of the fact, again, that they just, for us, Catherine, they pretty much just download our videos and re-show them on other channels.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And it is, as you say, it's across the board in different genders. I mean, I think I mentioned last week on my show that Joe Dispenza, I mean, you Google Joe Dispenza on YouTube, and none of the videos, apart from the interviews, are actually him. All the meditations are rip-off AI versions of it, and it's just absolutely awful, really. And it does, the thing is, it's like, we talk about this a lot, and we'll probably come on to this today. It's like any tool can be used for a good thing or a bad thing, but if you're complicit in, it's like all of us, me included, that buy off Amazon, we're complicit in how they treat their staff, how they rip off suppliers, how all the small shops are going out of business, all the local businesses. So every decision that we do does have an implication, and a blink of an eye, suddenly all the creators go, because it's just they can't afford to do it anymore. And suddenly you're just it's just another form of programming, mass programming, to get you to believe the agendas. And of course, the AI, I think even the film industry have suffered from this big time, in terms of, that's why they're having so much, so many of the actors and actresses have striked and things, because they've been using all their voices without their consent, and musicians and things like this. So it's across the board. But I think sometimes this is a really good reminder of, look, we need to put our energy and attention on what we want to support, whether it's a small business, whether it's a holistic health professional, whether it's a news channel that's diving a bit deeper, whatever it might be. It's important we make that effort.
Yeah, and we make sure I agree 100%. The Georgia Guidestone said before they were taken down, what was the first commandment? Was to keep the human population at 500 million. And if they can't get rid of us this way, then maybe they can just starve us out, because that's the problem. I've heard people argue, well, at least your information's getting out there. Well, that's well and good, but if I'm not making money from my work, then I can't keep doing this. I have to go make money. I have to feed myself. I have to put a roof. I have to feed my dog. So I can't just research, spend hours. And Catherine, I don't think people who don't do this understand like how much it takes to run a YouTube channel.
Well, it's a full-time job. It's just like, we don't say to people who are nurses or doctors or car mechanics or Uber drivers, we don't sort of say, well, at least someone's getting to where they want to be, to an Uber driver. Don't worry about getting paid to it. We're in this 3D world where at the moment we all need to be earning a living to support a lifestyle, to spend on as much as possible what we choose, which is getting increasingly rare now. But it applies across the board, and every decision. And I think that often we've got a lovely small local shop where we live, and we always make an effort to go there every week, because even if you pay a little bit more for it, if we don't use it, it's going to go out of business, like most small businesses have.
Absolutely. Well, that's the thing. We're in an energy exchange density.
Yeah.
That's how it's cause and effect. It's action reaction. It's polarity. It's energy exchange. And so if you starve out the content creators who have to make a living, AI doesn't have to make a living. You don't have to. AI doesn't have bills to pay. So these people that they're creating, it looks real. They look like real people, but they're AI. So if you keep watching these channels with AI because it's good content, well, guess what? You're giving that money to these big corporations, and the small content creator who actually did the research has now been starved out and can't afford to do it anymore. So where you put your energy in, and that's one of the things I like about YouTube, if YouTube was an honest company, is that you as the viewer can watch this content and we get commercials. And so that's what pays us for our work. So the viewer doesn't have to pay. The AdSense pays. But right now, that's not what's happening. And it started slowly. Like they started putting commercials in videos without use. When I opened up my channel, Catherine, I decided where commercials went.
Yeah, now we don't get that. So I get that comment a lot. And before, I know we're sort of diverging off today's topic a bit, but all these things link together. So I get a lot of people sort of saying, oh, you know, both on Rumble and on YouTube, why have you got those commercials? And I'm like, I have not put those
I
commercials
have
in.
not.
But equally, we're all using a free platform.
Yeah.
There's always got to be an energy exchange. So they're going to, and you can pay for YouTube Premium or Rumble Premium and not get the ads in. So, you know, it's all about choices. Everything we're doing in choices. And we're going to be talking quite a lot about holistic health today. And, you know, there's a couple of holistic health practitioners that I know that are in jail for doing their craft, and everyone wants their free information, but once they're in jail, then everyone forgets about them and goes on to the next thing.
Yeah, just be
You
careful.
know, I think we've got to be really conscious of these decisions, and it's hard because we're being kept so distracted by the other stuff, which is what we talked about in our interview last week, which is going to be going up tomorrow night on YouTube and on my podcast, about how it's so easy to keep us distracted, and this is exactly why.
Yeah. So with that being said, guys, just make sure you're supporting the people that you want to support. Really think about your conscious choices of what you're making. That's the whole point of this density, is your choices. And watch out for the AI. AI is real good. They'll make people look real. But there's some red flags you can notice about certain channels, whether it's AI or not. With that being said, though, Catherine, I'm super excited because I love the world of woo-woo. I love the weird and the wacky. And you can say, in some ways, animal communication. I mean, that's just telepathy, isn't it, Catherine?
Yeah, it really is. And I was so excited when the telepathy tapes started getting a lot more attention, and a lot of people are talking about telepathy now. I mean, up until fairly recently, most of the conversations I've had about telepathy have been very much used for nefarious reasons. So MK Ultra victims, in terms of secret services, military operations to try and get secrets out and spy on people and get, a bit like the remote viewing, get information that they're not using necessarily for good means. But telepathy, animal communication, which is one of the main things that I've been doing for years, a lot of people would think about think of it as telepathy. And telepathy isn't necessarily just that you hear words or anything. So there's a lot of publicity at the moment about certain autistic children being able to telepathically communicate across the globe with family members, with people they've never even met. But we've all got that ability. And one of the things I think about the Great Awakening is about us realizing that we haven't got 90% junk DNA, that our information isn't stored in our genes and a double helix DNA. There's so much good information about how that's complete rubbish. And about how we've all got these abilities to communicate via telepathy interspecies wise. So, you know, we normally talk about animal communication, so sort of like we might be doing a telepathic communication with our dogs, but you can do it with any thing, you know, but people do it with rocks, with land, with all plants, with any species, and it absolutely works. And it's incredible when, you know, let's face it, if we all spent time developing this ability, we wouldn't need to be asking who is telling the truth, who's not, because we'd know, because we literally would be able to read their minds.
Oh, actually, there would be no. Well, and that's the Cassiopeans talk about how we're like one of the only planets that actually has a voice.
Yeah.
Because and they talk about when the Lizzies brought us here, they actually disconnected a lot of our junk DNA. That's why we've struggled, but now we're claiming it back. And so it's fascinating. And you know, for people who don't are still weird about telepathy, like this is a common one. You know, have you ever had the phone ring?
Yeah.
Back in the day before we had cell phones where the name popped up like a landline and the phone rang and you just immediately knew who it was on the other end. That happens all the time. That, in my opinion, is a form of telepathy because the person is literally calling you. There's a little energy coming towards you that's not just in the land. It's a thought process that's hitting you, right?
Well, I just must call in there because that's so hysterical. You've brought that up as an example. So today I had a chat with Michael Tellinger a few weeks ago, who runs One Small Town. And I'm good friends with his admin lady who runs One Small Town in the UK. There's a point to this, trust me. So I've been meaning to contact her for ages because there's some events coming up and I'd forgotten the dates and a friend was going to come. And so I messaged her this morning, literally just before I messaged her this morning, to say, look, we need to catch up and arrange this. she was having a coffee with her friend, and my business card fell out of her purse when she was with her friend. And she sort of said, oh, you know, I must call Catherine today. And the moment she said that, my message came through to her. And this is exactly what it's like. You know, these energetic connections, and so many of us are taught, say, oh, it's just a coincidence. But it's not. And you can develop these abilities really, really strongly. And in a time where we're being lied to about everything, and even from people that we think we can trust, because sometimes the lies are intentional and sometimes they're not. You know, the other people have fallen for the gender and they deliberately believe what they're saying. It's so important for us to develop this skill, and it's a different skill but closely linked to intuition. So intuition is like that gut sense where you're sort of, do I go down that path or that path? And then you choose that one and you realise there was a dinosaur waiting to eat you. I'm joking about dinosaurs, folks. Do they exist or not? That's a different story. But you know, that's one thing, but the telepathy really takes it a stage further and can give you really specific information. And I think one of the reasons I think we've all been, as humans, and obviously when I'm saying we're all on, everyone's on a different spectrum of this, because we all choose to live in different places, different lifestyles, etc. But I think one of the main agendas to get us all into cities, to get us disconnected from nature, to mean that, you know, it's ironic that you can live in the middle of the countryside and your nearest neighbour can be a mile down the road, but you'll have a better a relationship with them than, say, someone who lives in an apartment block and hasn't got a clue who most of their neighbours are, or
Right.
anything about their life or how they need help or support. And this is a deliberate, because when you disconnect people from the land, from nature, from other species, we lose this ability. And
Yeah.
so that's why when people start reconnecting with nature and grounding and things like that, all these other shifts start to come back.
Or just getting in your own body to feel the subtle signs of the body. It's like I can't help but think about too that this also exists with like not just with animals, but also what you said, nature as well. When I lived in Los Angeles now Los Angeles is famous for its earthquakes, and I don't care how long you live in California. If you're not from California, you're never used to earthquakes. That is the freakiest thing I've ever gone through. But I remember the few times I experienced an earthquake. For me, I didn't feel any different, but the animals did.
Mm.
Like cats would start running around in circles in the apartment. Dogs would start barking more right before the earthquake would hit. And a lot of people who are from California would be like, "Oh, we must be about to get an earthquake because my animal's going crazy right now."
Yeah.
It's the first time I ever had to strap furniture to a wall when I first moved to California because of the earthquake. So this is a serious issue that happens there, but the animals always would know. They would
They do
always know.
know.
And so
Yeah.
they're feeling something that's alerting them. And I'm sure that we as humans have that ability too, but it's been kind of pushed out of us. You know, like having
Completely and deliberately. And it's very interesting because a lot of people who watch us regularly know that I've got really bad hearing and I wear 2 hearing aids. But if you lose, you mentioned this earlier on, that we're one of the only planets and the only species on this planet where our dominant way of communicating is via verbal, by a language, as we would call it. But most other animals, I mean, whales and dolphins can communicate at a far deeper level than we can, and they do make sounds,
yeah.
but it's very different. It's energy vibration, energy communication. And you know, your friend Jessica Jones, who does the remote viewing, it's all the same sort of skills. What we're doing, you know, whether you want to call it the divine matrix, whether you want to call it the energy field, whether you want to call it the ether, we're talking about this thing in the space between everything that literally connects everything. And I like to think about it, a lot of people understand the muscle fascia, say in an animal, and you've got the muscle fascia, and within that muscle fascia you've got the peripheral nervous system. Well, I like to think of the ether of like the muscle fascia of the universe or of Earth, if that makes sense. It's as in I pull on the fascia here in my hips and you'll feel it on the shoulder.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. Bryce sends me a message from Atlanta and I can easily pick it up in Surrey when I'm clued in. And it's the more you spend time and you get that energetic resonance with people. So when my husband and I play Pictionary, do you have the game Pictionary?
Yeah.
everyone always used to think that we were cheating, and we weren't, because we'd just draw one line and we'd know exactly what it was. And that's because we communicate telepathically quite a lot, because we've been together for so long. Normally it's me sort of sending a message saying get wine on the way home rather than anything deep and meaningful, but it works. But equally with animals and interspecies, we are meant to have this relationship with them. We're meant to have the relationship with our plants. They're crying out for us all the time, move me towards the sun, water me, don't water me. But with our animals, it's so important, because there's a different relationship there and neither's better or worse. I'm not saying plants can't do this too, but, or this crystal I'm talking. But with animals, in my experience as an animal communicator, and I've been doing this years, it's almost less is more. So with humans, and everyone will be laughing to hear me say this because I talk very fast and I talk a lot, but you know those people where they don't say much, but when they do say something, it's really relevant, really powerful, and really on point, which obviously isn't me. So I say a lot.
I'm a
But
talker too.
this is the same with animals, is if I've got different friends, so Bryce is one of my friends, I've got other friends, and I might talk to Bryce about what's going on in the world and things like that, and I might talk to my friend down the road about what we're growing in our gardens. We'll talk about different things to different people based on where that connection fits between us. So if I was speaking to Ravi, Bryce's dog, Ravi would have a different conversation with me based on my energy field, how much he trusted me, and also the way that my mind interprets things that I'm picking up. So an example for that would be, as a biologist, I've got a very good understanding of physiology, like where the spleen sits in the body of different species, where the liver does, the fact that horses don't have gallbladders. So I will pick up information, and that energy information comes into me, and then my brain has to make sense of it, and then out of my mouth will come my interpretation of it. And the more you practice this, the more you learn how to not put your belief systems on top of the animals. Whilst another person who doesn't know where the spleen is, for example, so I could communicate with a horse, and I've done this, and they'd say I've got a real problem with my spleen. Another person might not even have the word spleen in their awareness, so they might say, you know, I'm seeing a bright light in this area of the animal. We all pick up this information in different ways, and it's all relevant. And normally what the animals have got to tell us will have a lot of relevance to ourselves, because any animal, and it is different when you're communicating with a wild animal to an animal that is cared for by humans. Normally, most of the animals that are cared for by the humans, their primary objective is to make sure the human is balanced and making good decisions, because they're the ones making the decision for the animal.
And of course, our sponsor today is the Esoteric Academy. The Esoteric Academy is a virtual online mystery school, or shala, where my friend Paula and I have opened this particular virtual shala in order to help as many people as we can. As many of you guys know, I spent a good portion of my 30s in India studying traditional yoga with one of the foremost Param gurus in the traditional yoga system of India. I am the only female who's authorized to teach this particular form of yoga in the state of Georgia. Now, with that being said, what I've done is I've taken all of the things that I have learned about the energetic body, the chakra system, the bandhas, the meridians, somatic healing, the axis point, all of these things we talk about in this Great Awakening that have to do with the body, that are energetic but manifest in the physical. I've taken all of these lessons from traditional yoga and I have incorporated them into modern day exercise classes that are more feasible for people who want to do this in the comfort of their own home. Traditional yoga can be very complicated and needs a one-on-one teacher, but with this virtual Esoteric Academy, you're able to learn all of these lessons again in the comfort of your own home, and you get me as a teacher. You get access to me to help you help yourself. Within the esoteric exercise playlist, we have so many different types of exercise, from walking videos to intense cardio to traditional yoga to bar fusion classes to strength training to even classes like the one here where we use a chair. Every single level from beginner to advanced is met on this academy. And again, once a month, you get a live class with me where I can workshop with you to help you with your own body's alignment. On top of that, you get monthly phone calls with Paula and me where we discuss things like the doshas, quantum healing, again, somatic healing. And on top of that, we have the privilege of having other master teachers join us on this platform, including my friend Cindy Ola and Todd Roderick, who is the senior most teacher in the Southeast of the United States. At the Esoteric Academy, we also have a playlist full of courses, including the Alchemy of Movement, courses on the Bhagavad Gita, courses on health healing and beyond, a look at Ayurvedic homeopathic healing, as well as different quantum healing practices provided by Paula and meditations. We are also developing a Vedic chanting course with Todd Roderick, who is also been granted permission to teach a very, very traditional form of Vedic chanting. And we have a new course where we are combining the teachings of the Cassiopeians with the Yoga Sutras. Now, right now, we are running a special. We try to keep our prices super low for many, many reasons. We want to be able to help as many people as possible. And we can do that on a virtual platform where we can keep the prices low so that we're able to maintain the business while helping as many people as we can. But right now, we are offering specific deals with a bunch of different content creators. So for today, for this video, I'm going to be using Catherine Edwards' code. So if you want to check out the Esoteric Academy for either the $25 a month tier, which is just the exercise classes, or the $40 a month tier, which includes all of the exercise classes as well as the courses, you can get 20% off the first 6 months of your tuition at the Esoteric Academy by using the discount code Catherine5. Catherine with the C, that will be on the screen in front of you as well as down in the description box below. On top of that, you also get 7 days of a free trial. Now, please make sure that when you use this discount code that you put all the letters in capital in the discount code area when you go to check out. Again, that's Catherine5 with the C, all capitalized letters, that will be down in the description box below. And we look forward to seeing you over on the Esoteric Academy. Now back to the show. Before I even met you, Catherine, when we first got Ravi, I noticed a lot of anxiety from him, and I had worked with a trainer, and she would basically stop me and said, no, he doesn't have anxiety. You have anxiety. He's playing off of your stress, that you're worried about him. And it's so Catherine, my question for you is when the animals do feed off of our energy, because I know sometimes when you work with animals, you're actually kind of working with their humans.
Oh, always. You can't, I mean, none of us are separate. You know this from your work.
Yeah.
So if I'm working with Ravi, that has to bring in you and your partner, because they're your dominant energy fields in his life. Yeah.
And I've heard too that dogs like Ravi will, even though they might not have the word for mom and dad, they do kind of see you as their parental protector. You kind of,
and that's very individual. So you've got certain characteristics of, say, dogs, but every dog is a complete individual. So some might see you as their parental carers, but a lot see themselves as the human's carers.
I'm laughing.
Yeah. Does that make sense?
Yeah, because my boyfriend always says that I'm Ravi's puppy.
Yes.
Responsible for me.
Exactly. So it can be, and that is very different based on the thing. But one of my animal communication is something I'm so passionate about, and I've been doing it for years, but I am very fussy with who I work with, and that's not from an arrogance point of view, it's from a respect from the animal's point of view. Because for me, when an animal is transferring that deep personal information, it's just like me. If I'm going to tell you something really deep and important and perhaps traumatic, or that could really affect my life, I've got to trust the person. And so if, let's for sake, let's call it the pet guardian, if the pet guardian, if the animal doesn't trust them, they'll limit what they tell them. A classic example with is, I used to work a lot, I've stopped more now because I find the whole industry so distressing, work with a lot of high level competition horses, whether they were race horses, eventers, polo ponies, whatever it might be. And I've had to stop doing a lot of the work with them, not because I didn't have amazing results and it was the best paid work I had, because these people will pay a lot of money to get their animals right, but equally, like, the animals would share something really important, like it might be a physical problem they have, and then the owners would say, oh, they're not going to be able to do what I can do, and have them put down. And
That,
so there
that
has to be
yeah.
the trust there, you know.
That's one thing that drives me crazy about horse competition. I mean, I don't know where I'll put your horse, but don't send them to me. I'll love them and give them, you know,
Yeah,
that's that. And
it's disgusting. It's absolutely disgusting
a
because,
literal workhorse. It's a little,
yeah,
it's not a sentient being that
yeah,
has a life and you know,
yeah,
it's but the funny thing is with Robbie, like whenever Robbie's scared, like if there's thunder or something that's scary, you know, for the dogs from India, because of Diwali with all the fireworks, they sometimes
yeah,
scared of noises. I'm the one he runs to when he's like, he buries his head in my lap versus my
yeah,
boyfriend, which to me, I think that's just the mothering, the fact
yeah,
that I kind of mother him more and will, like, you know, and I think that's a
yeah.
difference between a man and a woman's energy as well. Catherine, how did you, at what point did you realize because what's so fascinating about you is you are a scientist. You've studied
Yeah.
biology. You know the way that the human body works from a scientific perspective. And what's fascinating about you, Catherine, is sometimes we don't see this marriage with scientists where they also acknowledge, we'll call it the woo-woo, the stuff that we can't, you know, that we can't actually see. So at what point in your journey and studying medicine and studying the way biology works, all this kind of stuff, did you realize that you could do this, that you had ability to talk to animals in a way that other people do also have the ability but had disconnected? At what point did that hit you where you could do this?
Well, it's really interesting. When I was deciding what to do at university, you know, obviously there was quite a lot of pressure to go down the medicine route or the veterinary science route. And I just had a big resistance to it, because even then I could see what direction they were going in. And I've been lucky that I've always grown up with animals. And I would say for animals and humans, one of my, I hate using the word gifts, but strengths, but also one of my Achilles heel, is whether it's a human or an animal, I really know what people are thinking and what animals are thinking. So I always had that ability to do it. Now, a lot of people have, but it would affect me really deeply, because, you know, you could see things, and as a child, often you don't have the ability to put things right for the animal. But then as you grow up, you're taught that animals can't talk to you. I think most little children can have, and most very young children will always have that natural relationship with an animal that a lot of humans don't. And a young child doesn't differentiate, doesn't think it can't talk to an animal, whether it's a chicken, a fish, a dog, cat, horse, in the same way as humans. They haven't got that separation yet. But then we grow up and we get taught that, very different, obviously very different experiences for all of us based on how we were brought up and the program we had. But so I could pick this up the whole time. So I always knew when animals were in distress, and it was just literally beyond me that other people didn't know that and weren't picking it up. And I was very confused for that for a long while. And then I can remember a friend saying to me, oh my goodness, you really do think that animals should have the same rights as humans? And I was like, wow, oh my goodness, you really think that they shouldn't?
Yeah,
And but in going back to when did I discover, when I went to university, I decided I want to do biology because I'm fascinated by all living things. And a lot of people now, it's very cool to slag off education, but it's so hypocritical, because in one respect we're putting all these people up on the pedestal, like, you know, that have got these professional qualifications, so long as they're saying something that you agree with. I always had an amazing experience at university. I absolutely loved it. I was the first person in my family to ever have the opportunity to go to university, so I saw it as a real privilege. I worked really, really hard. You know, I was working jobs the whole time while studying, did very, very well there. But I realized that a lot of what we got taught in animal behavior, in genetics, and all sorts of things, I did a very wide range and had some amazing lecturers. I realized it wasn't true. And so after I left university and I was thinking, what do I want to do? Most of my friends went into the pharmaceutical industry because that's where all the high paid jobs are. And I was like, no way. I went into different industries, but I'd always was still living with animals and always connecting with them. And the more I did that, the more I realized that I knew what was wrong with the horse or the dog long before the vet did. But I couldn't explain how. It's just an inner knowing. And then, to cut a very long story short, when I had my children, I thought, you know what, it's now or never. I want to get back to working with animals, but I want to do it in a different way. I don't want to go down the conventional route. I want to do something that gets to the root cause of the issues, not just putting a plaster over it. So I ended up studying as an animal iridologist, an equine and horse iridologist, which is looking into the iris of the eyes. Now, we're not legally allowed to say, but it does to diagnose health issues, but it does it in a very different way to traditional medicine, because traditional medicine labels everything with a disease. What iridology does is recognize that there's a unique energetic imprint and imbalances within the body, a bit like a Vedic
Yeah, I
medicine.
was about to say, when you go get diagnosed,
Very, very similar.
right.
So it doesn't matter what the name of the disease that we have. But bear in mind, named diseases are just given by a human.
Yeah.
It's just like you're called Bryce and I'm called Catherine. There's no more significance. But so I studied that and I was away and running, and I got ridiculed because I gave up a really highly paid, really good job. I was actually working for Nokia at the time, and everyone was like, you cannot have, there is no such career as an equine iridologist. There is now. And I teach people to do it. And then that led me on to herbal medicine. So I studied that and something called zoopharmacognosy, where animals self-medicate. So it's using all herbs, essential oils, natural products. But instead of me being arrogant and saying, Ravi, I know exactly what you need for the liver, I'm trained to offer liver support herbs in different ways, just as just an example. And then he will choose his method of administration, what he needs, what's worked for his particular condition, taking in mind, body, spirit. Is brilliant. And then I got into animal communication, and I am a little bit, in some areas, I've got a lot of self-doubt. You know, I want to make sure I know that I'm doing the animal service. So I chose to do a course, a very, very intensive course in animal communication. And it wasn't because I didn't know. I wanted to make sure that I wasn't just making it up in my head. And the beauty of this course that I did, and if anyone's interested, I can let you know, is it had very objective experts from all over the world. So we learned the processes and the methods for doing it, which was wonderful. But then to pass the course, we had to be examined by a vet in New Zealand, a behaviourist in Scotland, someone else in Canada, you know, and you knew nothing about the animals. There's no way you could guess or see it. And so that was important for my personality type, because I wanted to make sure I wasn't just making up what I was saying.
That's integrity too, isn't it? To make sure. A lot of people who claim to be channeling and psychic mediums don't have that integrity. To have, I think that self-doubt is what makes you good, because you are working with discernment. And it is
so important, because the things that you pick up are so ridiculous often. You want to know that, and a lot of it, the difficulty is not in communicating with the animals. It's often putting it in a way that makes sense to the humans.
Yeah.
So, for example, I love working with my American clients, because I find my American and Canadian clients are so open and don't take offense as easily as perhaps, say, the British and Germans do. And, you know, so of course it's individual, but it's cultural as well. And so when you're saying something, when animals are communicating with us, it's such a beautiful form of communication. Everyone who's had small children or been around small children know that they communicate with no ego when they're really tiny and with no malice. So if a toddler comes up and saying, why are you fat? They're not saying it because they're being mean. They genuinely want to understand something.
Right.
And an animal's exactly the same. An animal never says it from a judgmental point of view. But with humans, with all our layers of programming and hurt and trauma, we can take it as a personal insult. But they never mean it like that. They love us unconditionally, and they really do. Even the ones that have been abused doesn't mean the ones who've been abused want to stay in the situation. There's a difference. But it's such a beautiful form of communication. So I think the skill for all of us that are doing this is not so much in being able to communicate with the animals, because every single one of us has this ability. But just like anything, like you with your yoga, you have to practice it and incorporate it into a daily routine to actually get that feedback to say what works, what doesn't work. But equally for me, the main learning case has been how to put it across to the humans in a way that's going to encourage cooperation rather than putting people's barriers up.
You've helped so much with Ravi. I mean, you even helped our last trip we took. I was telling you, most dogs love going to sleepaway camp for dogs. But one time we had to put Ravi in a sleepaway camp. We had a camera. We watched him because we were going to a wedding, and it was terrible. He hated it. He's very attached to us, and this was years ago. Now Ravi is a street dog, so I noticed there's some differences. He's more
Yeah,
attuned to certain things, whereas more of a domesticated dog doesn't have to be. Like in the wild, they have to be. Every time we pull our suitcases out now, for years now, he's always panicked,
yeah,
even though he's coming with us. And you helped me because I was telling you, Catherine, because he loves going to Florida. We were going to Florida this few months back, and I was like, oh my God, Ravi gets so stressed out because we pulled the suitcases out. He thinks he's going to get left behind. It breaks my heart because I'm trying to tell him. And I was like, no, no, you're coming with us. But you just changed the way I said that. You said to start saying, we're going to have such a wonderful time in Florida. Instead of saying, no, 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 I changed, and it changed Ravi. Ravi all of a sudden started getting excited. And when the day came for us to load up in the car, which usually he'll cry a little bit because he's panicked, 'cause he thinks he's going, and it takes him a little bit on the interstate to like relax and go to sleep. But he was excited, and just
yeah.
the way that it was the same message, but with a
It's just been a slight energetic shift. It's amazing, isn't it? It's amazing.
it's amazing.
And I love it. They've got so much to teach us because, I'm a natural warrior. My personality, I'm a natural warrior. That's why I was so good doing risk management in my corporate career, because I can think of anything that can go wrong and then put in mitigating plans to deal with it. It makes me laugh because when my dad was teaching me to drive, bless him, he used to say, anticipate what could be around the corner. There could be a horse, there could be a cyclist, there could be a child, and that's my personality and his personality. So I've had to work really, really hard to not pass my anxiety on to animals. And one of the turning points was we had a very sad family event because my husband is the opposite. He's so laid back, he's horizontal, but he didn't really believe in animal communication. He loved them, but he didn't believe in animal communication. And we had a really terrible event where one of our cats, we moved into the middle of the countryside to be as safe as possible for all our rescue cats, and one got run over. It's like anything. We've got acres out that way, but there's a little country lane outside and fields over there, and he went over to catch some rabbits and unfortunately didn't make it. And I was just absolutely distraught. I was absolutely distraught. I was thinking, it's not that I wish it on anyone, but we take so much care of our animals, and then other people who don't care whether they've seen them from one week to another, they live to a right old age. It was like, so we had an animal communicator around, and in this communication sort of things, I wish I could have recorded it, Bryce, because the look on my husband's face was, because the communicator told us messages from our dead cat, because I'll come on to this, you can communicate with dead animals just as easily as live animals, because you're connecting in with their source energy, not their living. There are some slight differences, but and my husband's face was such a picture. It just made the awful event. You know how we often say out of something really terrible there can be something really good. Well, what came really terrible out of poor Ginger Willy being run over was the fact that he completely changed my husband's outlook on everything to do with animals. And my husband's always loved animals and everything, but the relationship with the now is completely different, because that animal communicator told us stuff from our dead cat that you could not have made up. There is just no way. And his jaw was literally falling open. He was like,
How did you know? Yeah.
unbelievable. So it's so valuable to us, because in a time where we're so stressed, we think that we've got to make all the decisions. Sometimes asking the animal or the person that you're trying to make the decisions about what's really important to them, what would be the best thing for them, rather than thinking you've got to do it all on your own. And also they really help us tune into where we should, what we should be really worrying about and what we shouldn't, and the state of the world. And you know, when you have this this tuning in ability to work with the animals, and that's just one method I use when I'm working with clients, depending on how open they are and what their belief systems are, because if the owner doesn't believe in it, you're wasting your time.
Yeah.
But when you do that, a lot of these other things, like, can I trust this person and I can't, those problems go away, because you start communicating with them in the same way, and you know. And it doesn't mean that, you know, it can be nuanced. If you take someone like President Trump, there can be certain situations like, is he trustworthy with his family? Yes. Is he trustworthy with other issues? Can be a no. It's not a black and white, as we always talk about. There's no human that's 100% good and 100% bad. None of them.
Yeah.
So I think this is where these skills are not only so valuable for our relationship with our animals and how to make really better choices for them and for ourselves, they're also really valuable when you're looking about what's going on in the world and where do I want to be putting my attention.
Before we get to your website, because you've helped so much with Robbie, I feel I just got chill bumps, and I don't know if I've ever told you this story, Catherine, but I'm going to share it with you. I want to see your opinion. So you guys know I rescue dogs in India, but I didn't actually rescue Ravi. My friend did. And right before the gestational period for a female dog is what, 3 months for a female dog to
Yes,
be
about
pregnant?
that.
Yeah. So in a wild situation where dogs are street dogs, which in India they are, they're not owned. They live in packs. First of all, dogs are better at not inbreeding. They're better than humans are in that respect. They will not go near their sisters or their first cousins. So what happens is, during a particular season, a male dog will leave his pack, will go and find a female that he's not related to, get her pregnant, and then he comes back to his pack, and that female will have her babies. That's her pack. So the way Ravi does not look like an Indian street dog. He does not. Indian street dogs are typically red with ears that stand up, and they're a lot smaller. Ravi looks like a chippy potty, which is which would have been the Maharaja's dog. They're the tall, long, soft fur, floppy ears, brown eyes, not blue eyes. So he stands out on the when you see a chippy potty on the street, it stands out. Well, right before, a few months before we left in 2016, when we were coming back, my boyfriend and I, this dog that looked a lot like Ravi, older dog, would come at night, and he ended up like hanging out with my boyfriend and me all the time. We would leave our door open. He would come into our apartment. He would sleep on we called him Gandhi G. Like, he was just this dog that, and you could tell he wasn't a part of that area, that he was prowling, that he was out looking for his baby mama. But because he didn't have a pack, but then he would come and he felt safe with us, and so he would hang out with us. We would feed him, but then one day we were walking into town. And he just kind of ran off, and we never saw him again. Well, then all of a sudden, a couple months later, we fly back home, and my boyfriend had been saying, "Gosh, next time we're there, we're going to get a dog, because these dogs they're beautiful dogs. We've rescued. We're going to get one." He really all of a sudden felt this just intense desire to have a street dog from India. Well, then my friend who lives in Birmingham, who had kind of flown in as we were like, we kind of crossed paths just a few months later. And now, into 2017, she's about to leave India. And she sends me a picture of this puppy, which was Ravi. And she goes, "Bryce, I'm in a desperate situation. This dog, I was coming out of the shower one morning. This little boy dog came, and he had no pack, and I picked him up and I took him home, and I've had him with me, and I'm not going to put him back on the street, obviously." She goes, "But my dog is very old, and I know that this will not be a good situation." She lives in Birmingham, which is very close to Atlanta. She's like, "I'm flying into Atlanta. Do you know anybody at your shala that would want this dog? And he's very smart. and I showed my boyfriend. My boyfriend initially wanted like a traditional end dog with the red hair but we were like, no, we're gonna take him. Like that Ravi was ours. Like that just knew right. And my boyfriend named him. She didn't have a name for him. She hadn't given him a name yet. 'Cause she didn't want him to get used to and so my boyfriend all of a sudden we're gonna name him Ravi because that's an Indian name. So we get him into Atlanta. He adapts to us really well. He was so hyper. Little boy street dogs are way more. They are full of energy. Funniest dog. We immediately just bonded with us. There was no crossover. He just immediately. And then one day we're sitting there as he's getting bigger, and both my boyfriend and I had this realization. We're like, that's Gandhiji's son. And we both. I mean, I get emotional thinking about it because of the bond we had. It's almost like there was like Gandhiji like asked us to take his son.
Yeah.
It was so, and that might not sound so this like big of a deal to people watching, but you have to understand the way the street dogs are in India. They're dogs everywhere.
Yeah.
And the fact that this one particular dog found us, we didn't, there are dogs everywhere. So you're kind of talking to them, but they have their own little packs. Like you don't, especially at certain time of night, you don't want to mess with the dogs at night because they get very protective of their packs, But this dog came to us and would walk with us and come to our house out of all the houses where there were white people living, because white people are way more, oh, dog than like the locals. I don't know, Catherine. What do you know? We've just really, and we found a picture of Gandhiji the other day and we were comparing it to Ravi now. They're identical. Ravi's cleaner.
Yeah.
But they're identical. Like that's that. There's no denying it.
I completely believe it. I completely believe it. I really do. Yeah, it's absolutely uncanny how they come to us. It really is.
It's like we had even talked about on that trip taking Gandhiji home with us, but he ran off, went back to his wherever he, said goodbye to us, and the next thing we know, a few months later, 4 months later, we've got a puppy that looks just like him.
Wow.
So, and it wasn't a puppy that my friend had actually rescued him.
Yeah.
So they're these weird things, and it's just like a soul agreement that your soul makes. And I feel like Ravi is actually the incarnate. I know this might sound crazy, but I feel like he's the incarnated of some of the dogs I had as a kid. Like I feel like that sometimes, like he's burlap, he's honey, he's these that I had as a child, and that was so hard as a child when you lose a pet as a child. I hate calling them pets, but which that's another funny thing I saw. Have you seen that thing going around where this woman says her daughter came home just so upset from school because all her friends have pets and how come we don't have a pet? I want a pet. And the mom looks at her and goes, our dog, we have a dog. And the little girl just, but that's not a pet. Like that's a part of the family. Like, she didn't consider the fact, like, because I hate that word pet too, because
it's awful. It's absolutely, it is absolutely. But I think that the beauty is I think a lot of them, particularly people who listen to us, people are a lot more open. People are really into energy medicine now, and everything like this can be, we've had numerous discussions about the med beds, but these therapies, these abilities are with us now, and of course we can develop them all further. Of course we can, but we want to start using what we've got now. And there's nothing worse, as humans, we've all had that thing where, I still get it with my mother, where she assumes that I'm the same person I was when I was 12 years old, and I'm not. Very different. She does point out the physical differences pretty accurately, and not very complimentary. But we all have that. So what could be a better gift to our animals than to actually ask their opinion? What's important to them? What are they picking up? And being open to it. It's like your best friend who has absolutely 100% got your best interest at heart, and for all of you, because pets, it's really true, they do say a happy human is a happy animal. If you don't know how to feed yourself properly, if you're not eating well, eating processed junk food, it's very unlikely you're not going to be giving processed junk food to your animal. And so there's always a benefit, because quite often people love their animals more than they love themselves, and there's always a massive benefit to the human or humans involved as well, because people will normally do anything for their animals. And actually, a lot of the changes they realise they've got to make for their animals, whether it's nutrition, whether it's exercise, whether it's getting the toxins out, whether it's managing stress, whether it's actually enjoying life. All of us that are lucky enough to got dogs in our life, that beauty. I saw my neighbour yesterday, and he's got a 16-and-a-half-year-old big dog, which that's quite old for a big dog. And this dog was barking, 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 going off to his walk. And he has that walk up on the heath every single day of his 16-and-a-half-years. But every day it's like the first time. I said to him, I said, it's so beautiful because he treats, it's like it's the first walk he's ever had over the heath every day, even though he's been doing it for 16-and-a-half-years. Animals don't lose unless it's taken out of them by humans. They don't lose that zest for life. They don't lose the awe of nature, of beauty. And I think what's so sad is we get so much wrong. We're told so much misinformation for our animals, whereas actually if we took the time to ask them, we'd realise that the answer was a lot simpler than we thought it was.
I love that. Well, Catherine, I'm going to have you share screen because my computer is being funky this morning. But Catherine has helped us so much with Ravi, and my boyfriend and I are both people who want the best for our dog. We adopt dogs and we bring them in our family. We're not people that consider our animals to be just animals. They're members of the family. They have Christmas presents under the tree too.
Yes.
And Catherine has helped a lot with Ravi, especially because he is, for Ravi's, like Catherine's dog, there is a wildness to him because they are street dogs. And being a street dog, as we laugh, sometimes they're a little too smart. Like they just
they're amazing, and they're amazing. Smart. I mean, I've got interestingly, Bryce, I've got 2 street dogs from Romania. I've got 2 street cats. I've got lots of English ones as well. But you're exactly right, when they haven't been wild. So I've got 2 born wild dogs, 2 born wild cats, and interestingly, a pony that was born wild on the New Forest there. And seeing the difference between the way they can read body language, the way they can read their environment, the senses, the way they can look after themselves between ones that's been born in the wild is huge. But can you see this okay?
Yes, absolutely. So
this is my main website, and you can find links to everything on here. But basically, the 3 things really to point people on. In the consult page, and I've never got enough time, folks, to get it right completely. But on the consult page, it's just learning. You'll see here there's 2 tabs. There's a human tab and an animal tab, and that just tells me the different options for what's available for the human and the animals. And I've got lots of options there, including in-person consults where I do things like the iridology, the light therapy, etc. So have a look at those on there. And I do work with people all over the world. It's the best thing about my job. And then I've also got this courses tab here, which takes you through to my academy. So just like Bryce has got her Esoteric Academy, I've got the Catherine Edwards Academy. And you can see I've got a few courses here, like stress and a gut one for humans. And then I've got a cat food, make your own cat food, make your own dog food. And then these courses here about how to use zoopharmacognosy animals self-medicating. So these are really detailed courses. They were filmed live with me teaching. And these are all about how to use natural products safely and read your animal's responses. And it talks about herbal worming and vaccinations and things like that. One for dogs, one for horses. Now, these apply to any animals, really. But if you've got a herbivore like a guinea pig, you'll be more drawn to the horses one. If you've got a carnivore like a cat, you'll be more drawn to the dog one. This is my favourite course, actually, the natural first aid. So this uses horses as an example, but it goes through all the key differences in the herbs, the essential oils. It teaches you how to make your own remedies and everything. The Holistic Equine Iridology Diploma is not for everyone at all. This is a fully accredited where I teach people how to be professional equine iridologists, and I love that.
Excellent. Go out and be one after. So that's for you, your own, to grow your own, basically.
Yes, to grow your own business. So when you do this one, now I have had people that have done it that have just wanted it to work with their own animals, but this gives you the full official qualification to go out and do this as a business. And my latest wonderful student is Tasmania. She's amazing. So again, I work with people all over the globe on that. And then the other thing I want to bear people to mind is when you go on these bundles down here, this is new. We've got different bundles where, so for example, if you've got horses, you can get all the horses courses for a discount. If you've got humans, if you've got dogs, you can actually, you know, a dog bundle. But what I'm really excited is anyone who's been on my YouTube for a while knows that I've done a lot of videos with a fantastic holistic vet called Dr. Timo. And we are just as we speak. Sorry, I've got we are just as we speak. Sorry, it's my phone's connected on. We're just doing a whole new load of short courses for your animals on things like vaccines, things that we cannot talk about on YouTube, etc., on herbal, on the dangers, everything you need to know about wormers, tick flea repellents, vaccines. We've got about 10 more courses coming for the dog, cat and horse market that will be up on there over the next year. So please do check those out and have a look. And then the final thing is I have on there a products page as well, and that's where my trusted products, Bryce, are, where you and I both know there's a lot of rubbish on the market. So it's got animal products and human products that I really believe in and really trust, and normally they've got discount codes as well.
You guys, I cannot express enough. Just the diet alone helped us with Ravi. When we got Ravi, we thought we were doing the best thing. We were going and researching all this kibble, going to Whole Food dog markets, and then Catherine, you know, so funny because we would put kibble in Ravi's bowl, and he would like bring the kibble to me and put it at my feet. And I thought that was him just trying to share food with me, but no, I think he was
Really saying, "Piss off, Mum! What are
this
you
is
giving?"
bullshit. So
Yeah,
I laugh now that our freezer looks like a serial killer's freezer, but it
mine too.
yeah,
Yeah.
but it actually has made such a huge difference. Ravi was not growing his chest hair. He's the first dog I've ever had where I can see his belly button. And I just thought that was Ravi. That was just Ravi. But once we changed his diet to Catherine's diet, he grew a full chest. He became a man. He grew a full chest of hair. His ear, you know, he has like little allergies, like ear issues. Sometimes that pretty much cleared up. We don't have to clean his ears as much anymore. His behavior changed. The hardest part with Robbie has been leash chaining because he's the first person in his family line to be on
Yeah.
a leash. He's way better behaved off leash, but obviously when you live in a city, you have to leash him. And when we changed his diet, he started behaving better on a leash. And you explain that, Catherine, because they can smell with other
Yeah.
animals when your nutrition isn't that great, and when his nutrition improved for him, he wasn't that intimidated around other dogs anymore. And of course, as a street dog, that's even more ingrained in him than like a domesticated dog because that's how they survive in the wild. The funny thing is, too, Catherine, I will tell you something Robbie does because I have such terrible digestion myself. If I eat something that's going to affect my stomach before I even feel the pain, I know it's going to affect my stomach because Robbie will come and put his snout into my stomach.
Yeah.
It's wild. I know.
It's just amazing. They can pick up everything. They really can. Yeah.
And
And
they
you've got, for your listeners, for anyone with your listeners, whether it's on the Academy for the courses or for consults, there's a 10% off discount code off anything. So I'll make sure, because I know that you've got the link for the Academy, but I need to
yes.
send you the link because the courses in the Academy are run on different platforms. So I'll send you the link for that one afterwards.
Awesome, guys. That will be in the description box below. Also, for my academy, you get 20% off the first 6 months by using Catherine's as well. I'll put that. So you have 2 different discount codes for both, one for yourself and one for your animal. But I always laugh too, Catherine, because one thing Robbie is really funny about doing as well, and my boyfriend will laugh and say, "Oh, he's my teacher reincarnate," because anytime we're on our yoga mats and we're not doing our Ashtanga practice, we're goofing around or doing like vinyasa flow. Robbie gets very upset at us. He gets off his little bed, woo, woo, woo. He starts like yelling at us. And the minute we actually get into our serious practice, he gets in his bed, his Serta mattress, he has the fancy bed, and he goes to sleep. And he just sleeps with the breath. And so they're amazing. And I'm definitely, I've already told Robbie that he is going to live the 25 years or more that he's supposed to live. You guys, that's how long our dogs are supposed to live. I saw a commercial lately where it was for dog food. It was like, you only get 10 years with your dog. I'm like,
It's just
down even
disgusting.
more.
I think that the average life expectancy for a Labrador now is now about 10 years old. It's disgusting. It should be 20.
It's,
And the
yeah,
sad thing is, for anyone watching this, it's so important not to blame yourself. Now, this isn't shrugging off all responsibility. It's like everything. It's like once you get that light bulb moment, oh, then you just learn a little bit each day of just to do better, because there's never an animal that I've ever come across that has got any blame. They don't think, why the hell did Robbie's not saying to Bryce, why the hell didn't you do that 5 years early? He's just saying thank you for listening now. And
yeah.
they're always giving us clues, just like our body's always giving us clues. They're always giving us clues, and once that light bulb goes on and we learn how to listen, it's amazing. And the transformation, I could tell so many different stories, but you will be blown away when you see what your animals know about you, what they really know about you. But equally, don't ask. If you're one of these people that doesn't want raw, honest, from the heart and from a good place truth, don't ask your animals.
Do you know what I'm going to do, Catherine, for our outro? So as I edit this, when it's Ravi's feeding time, which is around 2 p.m. our time is when we feed him, every day, it's hysterical. My boyfriend makes him sit. He has to go sit in his bed, and bed's on his little sturdy mattress. And my boyfriend chops the meat, and my boyfriend loves doing that, and it makes it
Yeah,
all boils, just gets it all ready for him. Ravi will start singing, ooh, like it
yeah.
is funny, and his tail's hitting the. I'm gonna see if I can film that today and make that
Brilliant. I
most
think
fun
you
show.
should, because
Yeah,
it's so worth it. It's, when you research the blue zones in life, and so many people are looking for their purpose. And the thing is, when you can help, whether it's anyone that you can contribute, whether it's an animal, whether it's an elderly person, whether it's a child, it's the most rewarding thing you can do, is to help in a way that they want the help. Not that you've decided they want the help, that they want to help. And those priorities will be different for everyone, just like they are for us. But when you truly know, it takes so much stress off you because you're not second guessing. But one final thing I'd like to say is, just like humans, some animals are very, very chatty and will just go off on one about all sorts of things. But other animals just have a few key points that they want to get across that are going to transform their life. Both are equally relevant. So don't take a leaf out of my book and think that quantity is better than quality. It's like, think of them as your wise little sages, those people that you really look up to, if you've got any in your lives, where they don't say a lot, but when they do say something, it really matters.
absolutely, absolutely. You guys, I could not recommend this enough. And for those of us who want to give the middle finger to the establishment, one way to do it is to take your animals' health back, because you are their provider. They are completely, I don't want to say helpless to us, because I do think some animals would survive if they were, they're smarter than us when it comes sometimes to nature, but you are their provider. That's one thing I love about dogs. It's like having a constant 4-year-old. They're never gonna grow tired of you. They're never gonna, you're their life. And I do believe our animals and our souls have soul contracts together. And so
Yeah.
please make
I
sure.
just want to very quickly say, though, what you said is they are smarter than us, which makes it even harder. Everyone on this channel will have been involved in the conversations back in 2020, 21 about the interventions. And we all know how awful it felt when people that we didn't trust
Yep.
were making decisions against our better instincts. Um, Imagine how your animal feels when the person that's meant to love you the most poisons you, whether
Yeah,
it's
oh no,
it
Robbie
was,
got what he had to get to cross into the
yeah,
country. That we had to do that. He's also chipped. He had to be chipped to cross into the country.
yeah,
Still got my friend's name on it, but that's okay. We never changed it, but that's okay. She'll know she gets a
yeah,
photo. But at this point, no more. We give no more to
yeah,
Robbie. He is done with that. He is done.
yeah. So it's like, it's so important. So it's not about us blaming ourselves at all. It's about just keep asking questions, because when we know better, then we do better. And as any pet parent will know, all we want to do is help. And then if we don't know what to do to help, then it can be really stressful.
So you can do this, just to reiterate, guys. She can do this over Zoom. So
Yeah.
you are in the United States or Canada or Australia or Europe or anywhere where you can't.
Anywhere. In fact, actually, you're going to love it, because I had a meeting yesterday with someone in this amazing organization in India that are trying to educate all the Indian dog owners about how to care for their pets. A fantastic organisation. So I've
Let
just
me know the information. I love.
well, I'm just doing some work with them, and it's amazing because the different challenges we have in different countries are
Yeah.
different. So
It's very
yeah,
culturally different. I've told you before, the vet that we work with in India to get the dogs there to let the dogs be legal. Ravi is a
yeah.
legal immigrant. He has a passport and everything. He legally came into the country. He has a funny sign on his over the scales where they weigh the dogs, and it's like if your dog is overweight, you're not getting enough exercise.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. And I didn't realize that so many people in India feed their dogs a vegan diet because most of them are vegan.
The
And
vegan,
of
yes.
course, that's really, really dangerous for dogs. So I'm so excited that there's all these people all over the globe and we're all finding each other because all everyone wants to do is help. And we've all
Yeah.
got a little bit of the jigsaw puzzle.
Absolutely, guys. Well, check Catherine's website out and please share this video. I know we get shadow banned and all that good stuff. So please, please, please share this video with your friends and family. Give us a like. If you don't know what to put in the comment section, just put your country flag. It's fine. Or your dog or cat's name, whatever. Just to help us out to get this information out because we do want to help people. And we are, Catherine, as we start off in the beginning, we're kind of between a rock and a hard place, just trying to wiggle
Yeah,
ourselves out. So we need your help with that, guys. And so anyway, thank you so much, Catherine. This was so exciting. And
much fun.
I can't recommend Catherine's course enough. It's been fantastic. For Ravi and for his health. You can just tell he's a lot happier, like he sleeps better, a lot healthier. And it's because he's eating the way he would eat if he were on the streets, how he would naturally eat. Maybe a little bit more
Yeah,
designer.
more designer. Yeah,
You
exactly.
didn't have to go scavenge for it.
Yeah,
So,
exactly. Brilliant.
all right.
Thank you so much. And we'll be back next week. Take
Bye,
care.
everybody.
Bye.